Hey, everybody. We are excited to bring another grad to you. Tonight, we're talking to Lauren. Ignore above where it says Allison. Lauren. This is
You can call me Allison if you want to. I've never been an Allison before.
You can, absolutely. Whatever floats your boat. But Lauren is so special to us, and we are going to talk about her experience with Pretty Focused. Actually, Lauren, when did you join Pretty Focused?
I didn't join.
Oh.
My husband signed me up. We had talked about it, and he knew that I was very nervous and a little bit afraid to fail at something. And so he just said, I signed you up. Here you go. So I didn't sign up, but he signed me up in the fall of 2018.
Wow. That's amazing.
Yeah.
I remember that story so well. I mean, what a guy. Were you like, why did you do that? Or
yeah, I was petrified. I was like, this is a mistake. Like, no, we cannot invest anything right now. Like, this is a bad idea. He was like, it's done. It's already done. You just have to do it. So threw me in the deep end, and it was good.
Oh my goodness. So 2008 fall, so that's 4 years. 4 years ago.
Yeah. Yep.
Oh my goodness. So what does your life look like right now?
It's busy. It's really busy. I have 4 kids. We have 4 kids. Our youngest is 4. She was just 8 months old on my hip when I started doing the Pretty Focused course. And she's 4 now. She starts kindergarten next fall. And then we have a going on 7-year-old. And then we have oh my gosh, how old is Gavin? He'll turn 11 in the fall. And then we have a 13 going on 14-year-old. So lots of kid life, family life going on. And then my brother lives close by now. So we have cousin life going on. So like plug 3 more kids in there sometimes. So real life is full and busy and loud and chaotic. So it's really cool that I can work like in between those moments working for clients.
Yeah.
So my kitchen is always a wreck. There is always something going on. Either I am making something, creating something, or feeding the troops. So the kitchen is destroyed constantly. We do more dishes than I care to admit.
Do you pay any of your kids to do the dishes for you?
Not yet. I will at some point. Right now, it's just easier for everyone to get out of my way and let me get in there and get it done.
Oh my gosh, I know what you're talking about. I love it so much. So I think one thing that I'm really excited to talk with you specifically, and for people to be able to ask you questions, is that we typically hear a lot of stories about people who are hitting the ground and wanting to get 40 hours a week and they're wanting to work full time. But that's not the case with you, right?
No.
How many hours a week or a month are you working?
Really very few right now, because I do juggle a lot with real life. My husband travels for work, so I tend to need to have a lot of flexibility and freedom. So I had pulled back my workload quite a bit at the beginning of last year. So how cool that I was able to be like, oh, this isn't working for me. I went from full-time to very part-time. So I'm essentially doing 2 to 3 recipes a week, which is very few compared to the 35 to 40 recipes a month that I was doing before that. I learned a ton, which is amazing, but I was very thankful to be able to pull back and make, we just had like a bare minimum that I needed to earn in order to contribute and keep things going smoothly. And so I just cut back to exactly that. And so right now, maybe 15 hours a week.
Okay. Wow.
Yeah. Not very much at all right now.
Have you been working with the same clients that whole time?
Yes. Since launching my business, I've really only had a handful of clients. They've all been long-term. And then I do exclusives too. So I sell directly to buyers, which makes it really flexible, very easy.
Oh, do you have your own group? How do you sell?
So I
clients?
started out with a website, and then I also sold directly into the Buyers Club, a
Okay.
super cool community. It was really easy to get known in there, and then people tell about other people. So at this point, I don't even advertise any of my work, and I still have new inquiries coming in. People who are reaching out to me, and I'm turning people down because right now I really can't take anything else on at this point. Next school year, when all 4 kids are in school full time, it's all bets are off and everyone's going to have to get out of my way. But for right now, I'm turning down work.
So I actually want you to say that again for the people in the back, because we hear this all the time, right, Stephanie? This buzz about, are people hiring and what's the market like? Say it again, Lauren.
So I have not advertised since 2019. And I still get inquiries on a regular basis, people who have seen my portfolio, who have seen my name in Pretty Focused in the Buyers Club, and they reach out to me and want to know if I'm taking on new clients. And I am not. So I've turned down quite a bit of work, especially in the last 12 months. So
Nice.
there is work if you're willing to do the work.
I
So,
love that.
so they're finding you not through referral, but through your portfolio.
Some referrals. I
Yeah.
have clients that know my name and
Right.
share my name.
Yeah.
But then most of it has come from the Buyers Club, where my portfolio has been.
Yeah.
And then the Hire a Grad page, when we did all that,
Yeah.
beautiful.
I was going to say, well,
So-
here is, you are so far removed. We don't have portfolios in the Buyers Club anymore. You're like,
That's where it used to be. Yeah.
yes. You're,
No,
like,
the
you're like,
Hire
I
a
don't
Grad.
need any of that.
Yep. It's amazing how Pretty Focus has grown and shifted. Just
Yeah.
like when I started, there wasn't a Buyers Club. We were all selling independently. We were connecting in other VA groups. And now there's a whole community built just around the Pretty Focus graduates. And people know what the graduates can do, which makes it very easy to connect with people who trust what we can do.
Wow.
Yeah, I'm going to put our grad directory in the comments, because I think I don't think people coming in when we say your number one job is just to make sure that you perfect your skill and get the most high quality portfolio you can out of it, and then the work will come, right? Like, and then repeat that, right? Like, produce work that's equal to your portfolio, and you won't ever look back. So do you update it regularly, or is it still like you're still comfortable with everything in there? Well, I guess you don't even want to.
I haven't updated my portfolio since 2020.
Right. I'm going to find yours.
So everything that's in there was work from even a couple of years ago. So I've grown even since then. I probably should update it.
You should, because I shared some of it and I'm like, man, these are so pretty. So I know that it was from 2 years ago, so I can't even imagine what your work is like now.
It's been a lot of fun. I feel like, especially watching what's happening within the Pretty Focused coaching group, like watching the students learn and grow. Like, I'm learning from them as they're growing through and they're posting their work and the other students are coming alongside each other. Like, I feel like I've just continued to learn and expand my skill set because of all of them. It's really awesome.
Yeah. And so what you guys are hearing, Lauren, when you hear Lauren talking about the coaching group, Lauren is actually one of our coaches. She goes in and she coaches a couple of days a week. And if you have seen the email about book a call with Lauren, to like sit and talk face to face with somebody, Lauren is the person that you talk to. So she has been around for a while, but what I want to just really stress to people is that our coaches are coaching our students, but they are still like running their business, right? They have not stopped photographing. Like, they're in it every day. And they're working with clients. And so you get people who are kind of like still running the race, like a couple miles maybe, or, ahead of you guys. So they know exactly what it's like. And I just love that they get to share that perspective with you. And Lauren, you've gone from not having picked up a camera to being a coach. So tell us about that. Did you tell us about your beginning prior to Pretty Focused?
So prior to Pretty Focused, I had never picked up a camera. That was my husband's hobby. We did have a camera, but it was literally collecting dust up in the closet. So picked up the camera, played around with it a little bit. I think I messaged with Melody for like weeks going like, do I even have anything? I would send her pictures of oatmeal.
Yes.
And she was like, yeah, you do. Go ahead. Like, pull the trigger. You can do this. And David finally signed me up, and it was terrifying. But I watched and rewatched the course. I lost count of how many times, especially on the lessons about like camera settings, because it was completely foreign to me. It was like a different language. And I would sit in bed at night with my camera and take pictures of the television as we were watching TV together so that I could just like play and learn and figure it out. And then the next day I would put something in front of me on my board and I would test it and try it. And so it was a lot of like failing forward, just kind of experimenting. And okay, Melody says to do it this way, so we're going to do it this way. Okay, now I'm going to do it this way. And I'm like, that doesn't work. Melody was right. And just repeating exactly what Melody was teaching in the course and putting myself out there in the Facebook group and sharing the things that I was working on and taking feedback from Melody and the other students who were going through the course at the same time I was. It was a lot of learning, because it was just brand new information.
Yeah. But I mean, that was that portfolio that Stephanie shared in the comments, that portfolio was 2 years after you joined. Mm-hmm. And that was, so like I said, you've said your work has even progressed since then. So, but for somebody who's never picked up a camera before, when you joined Pretty Focused, what were some of the obstacles that you faced? And maybe it wasn't about the camera. Maybe there's like business obstacles that you faced. What were some, maybe hit on a couple of different areas of obstacles that you faced?
So I was a job gypsy before I was a stay-at-home mom. And by the time I found Pretty Focused, I'd been a stay-at-home mom for 10 years. I had 4 babies, and I had been at home the entire time, not financially contributing, but contributing in a lot of other ways, which I'm sure any other stay-at-home moms out there know. It is nothing short of full-time and then some. So domestically, I felt very confident in my skills. I knew that I had something in me. We were looking at knowing that Caroline, our youngest, was our last, and we were trying to decide, like, what do I do when I grow up? Do I go back to school? Is it time to look at, taking out student loans? And what do I want to be when I grow up? And we were throwing around all kinds of ideas. There was dental hygiene school, and it was just, I was all over the place. I didn't know what I wanted to do. And so I was like, okay, we'll just start with updating my resume. And I was unbelievably discouraged as I was trying to figure out how to fill in that gap, because I felt like the personal growth that I had experienced during that 10 years of stepping into motherhood, learning how to take care of our family, managing the ins and the outs and all of that, it's a business. I was running a business, but on paper, that doesn't look like anything. It was very poorly received, and there wasn't really any way to spruce up my resume that would have put me in a position to be marketable for what it would take to take me out of the house to earn that money. I couldn't figure out how it would possibly be worth it. Yeah. And it was like, I just felt like I was stuck and discouraged, and I didn't really know what I was going to do. So I went into this knowing that I wanted to attack something professional. I wanted to be elite. Whatever I was going to do, if it was going to take me away from my time at home, any amount of time whatsoever, it had to be worth it. And a creative outlet was just like the cherry on top, because I feel like I've thrived so much just having this, like, an outlet to put myself into and to create something that's fun and beautiful, and it tastes good and it brings people together. And so I had a huge leap to make to go from that stay-at-home mom, my brain was on only certain things, to how do I balance books? Taxes. How do I manage my time? How do I interface with clients or potential clients or clients who are having an issue or clients that I really want to land, but I need to sell myself, all of these things that I had never done before. And suddenly I was just winging it, figuring it out and reading anything I can get my hands on and talking to other people who had been there before and figured it out. So for me, the business side of things came naturally, but it was terrifying to step into it because it was a completely different hat than I had worn for a decade. Wow. And even before that, as a job gesture, like I had a lot of jobs, like did a lot of things. I did stuff in medical offices, and I worked for staffing companies, and I felt like I could do anything that I set my mind to. But I didn't know it, like in practicality, what that actually looked like, and if I was really going to be able to do it. So it was a lot of practicing and trying different things and kind of testing the waters and figuring out what my business was supposed to look like for me and not somebody else's business, because it's so unique. And I think that's the cool thing being in the Facebook group with all of the other students and graduates, is hearing how vastly different someone can use the same set of skills and the people that they reach with it and the things that they're doing. Like it blows my mind. This is not just a one size fits all. You only get to do this one thing with it. It is the stepping stone. It opens this door to an entire industry that has facets and facets and facets of different things that you can do.
And you have taken some of your skills and you've even worked with some brands outside of like bloggers. So tell us about that.
Oh, commercial photography. That was, talk about a foray into something that was totally foreign. Working with brands who are marketing products and learning how to photograph those. Like the first one that I had was these copper mugs. They were gorgeous. They were shiny and they were beautiful, and like domed reflective mirrors. So learning how to like work with my angles and like block my camera. And so that was like, and I took it on, like they knew that this was sort of the first time I had done this. They took a chance on me. But when I delivered that gallery and it was like pure perfection, I was so proud of that work, and they hired me again. So
it's in your portfolio, right? The Moscow Mule.
Yep.
Yeah. So if you guys take a look at her portfolio, you'll see those copper mugs. That was for a brand.
Yep. They're so beautiful. Yeah. That was a fun one for sure.
Yeah, you did so great. So you went from this being a stay-at-home mom and just trying to fill in what am I going to do? As you said, I love it whenever I grow up. What am I going to do whenever I grow up, or when the kids grow up? Because there's a lot of people who feel that way. And, if that resonates with people, just put that, like, I'd love to hear if that, that story resonates with you. So now look at you. You went from being this stay-at-home mom wondering what you were going to do to, when you started, you said you were doing 35 to 40 recipes.
Yeah.
Like that's insane that it just exploded that fast.
It did. Yeah. I put my ad in the Buyers Club when we were in one of the VA groups, and within an hour I had 2 inquiries. So I booked them with a couple of like practice runs just so that we could make sure that we were a good fit. And that turned into long-term clients. Both of them did.
Wow.
And then one of them referred me to another friend of hers, and that one turned into an 18-month client. I did tons of recipes with her. So it was very easy to fill my schedule. And the industry has changed so much since then. I wouldn't need to do 40 recipes now.
Right.
Yeah, what you charge then and what you charge now are not.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
I was amazed when I started. I posted specific rates for the things that I did, and so I booked at that. And 2 years later, I looked up, and the new graduates were charging twice what I was charging. And it was like, I should probably think about updating that. So as I was bringing on new clients, I started doing the higher rate. And I got to the point where it was time for me to go back to like original clients and say, hey, I've loved working with you. this is where my rates are headed. This is why, like, I hope that my work speaks for itself. And that was a really uncomfortable conversation to have because I didn't want to lose them.
It always is,
and I did lose some of them, but that's okay because it meant that other people who were coming in that were new were able to charge their new fresh rate and get some experience with the same blogger. So it worked out beautifully. But I'm so glad that I did that because I had been able to charge quite a bit more than I did when I was starting out, which meant that when I needed to pull back a year ago, it really wasn't like going to nothing. It was just I was going to be working less and just delivering really, really, really high quality to some really amazing clients.
Yeah.
And that's such a sweet spot for me right now.
Yeah, I love that flexibility. So you think whenever Caroline goes back to school that you'll take on more clients, or are you gonna keep it? Okay.
I have to be realistic. I think I told you this the other day. Like, I was shocked to discover that I am just one person. I don't know why that was so surprising to me.
Yes.
There's only so much of me to give. And at this point, with a little one at home still, like, I really do have to be realistic about where I'm spending my time.
Right.
And I think even next school year, I'll have to be realistic. But I've seen a small glimpse because Caroline is in preschool this year. So for a couple days a week, she's out of the house for just a few hours where I'm not having to listen and wonder what she's up to or park her in front of a TV to get a few things done and wonder where all the crayons went and why there's suddenly people drawn on all of my walls and why the scissors are missing and what's that water running sound happening. Like just a few hours a week where I can kind of catch a glimpse of what life will be like. And I think that I would probably go stir crazy if I didn't fill it with something productive. So yes, the plan is to ramp back up again and really stretch myself next fall. I might ease into it. August and September always feel really crazy, but I'm hoping by the end of next fall that I can see a new direction with my business that is just full and abundant.
Go ahead. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
No, I was going to say, will you sell exclusives or will you take on clients? Or
I love exclusives.
Yeah.
I love creating recipes. I can remember being very young in my grandmother's kitchen and watching her make food, different types of things, and just watching her measure and dump things. And she was so fluid. She just seemed so at home in the kitchen, and it was so cool to see her do that. So now part of my job is I get to flow through my kitchen doing the same types of things. So I just feel like that heritage of getting to carry on something that she loved and did so well.
Oh.
So I think I would probably focus on exclusives. There's a ton of freedom and flexibility in them. So that fits really well with what life looks like.
Yeah, I mean, a busy week, you could just not do them, and nobody
would ever know.
No.
Yeah. So, I mean, this might be kind of hard to answer because it's been a while, but we kind of talked about, like, after graduation for you 4 years ago, you had a ton of clients.
Yeah,
and so
picked up right away.
And you had an even smaller one at home.
I had two at home at that time, a 2.5-year-old and an infant. So I was hopping. So I would say if you're currently working full time and you intend to work full time until you can replace that income, go ahead and draft your resignation letter because like submit your portfolio and just go ahead and open up the Word doc and start drafting it. The cool thing about this is that you can take on as much or as little as you feel like you can.
Mm-hmm.
Initially, I wouldn't bite the bullet and just say yes to everything. I would go through the motions with a few new potential clients and get your workflow figured out. Like, what does it actually look like to fit this in? And then once you feel like you have a good handle on that, that might only be a few hours a week for maybe a month or so, where you're just kind of getting the feel for things, working out your customer care side of things. And then there's really no limit to what you could choose to take on. So I would say initially, maybe just set aside a little bit of time because you want to just kind of get your feet wet, get yourself established, work out all the details behind the scenes. But if you're replacing a job, like, you won't have to wait long,
right,
at all.
Well, and if you are doing if you're doing exclusives, you don't have to worry about clients, really.
No,
Building your email list and selling.
So, and how many of the recent grads have gone through the portfolio process and like built something to sell? So they take that effort that they're putting into building that portfolio, and then they make it marketable. So you've got your first paycheck, like within minutes of posting that information where people have access to it. Those grads have been able to pay themselves for the first time. I mean, that is just, I cannot even believe how amazing that is.
I mean, I still remember sending off those first invoices whenever I first started. And it was at a time where like our family was we were in desperate need, right? And so it was just like, oh my gosh, it felt so freeing. It felt so like, what have I just found? What have I did? Like, it still felt too good to be true, but here I am 6 years later. And then now this story is being retold and retold and retold for every single grad has this, like, I can't believe this is like a real thing and that I get paid to do this. It's amazing.
I know.
It's so cool.
It really is. I remember being at the point where, so we had been a single income household for a decade. We had a grocery budget we had to stick to, or else. Because that's just how it was. And we were always like eking through that last week of the pay period to make sure that like there was enough milk in the fridge and everybody had diapers, and high stakes. And so there's a lot of like managing like anything I could make from scratch, that type of thing. I got my first couple of clients and I was like, okay, I guess we're going to see if this is a thing. So I send off the invoices and I'm sitting at the computer still. David's sitting over next to me, and ping, here's the first one. It was paid like instantly. And I was like, oh my gosh, babe. And I was like, the invoice is paid. Like, there's money in my PayPal account. And he goes, really? I was like, yeah. He was like, hang on. And he pulls out his calculator, starts doing retirement figures. He was like, that was the moment where he was like, oh, she's going to do this. Like, this is not milk money. This is like change the way we talk about finances money. And it really, really has. I can't get over the difference night and day from where we were then to where we are now. I never run out of milk. I go out and buy milk as much as I want to.
I love it. So let's talk about that while we're here. What have been some of your biggest wins with Pretty Focused, other than milk money, right? Tell us.
So two things come to mind immediately when I get asked this question. And one of them was the first day that I left the house, like after establishing myself, and I went and got a haircut, like a real big girl haircut.
I and remember then on the way home, that. I remember you posting about that.
I stopped and I went dress shopping. I hadn't bought like a dress for a while, like forever. Like, you know, you pick something up at the grocery store and you stay at home mom, so it really doesn't matter what you wear. Like most of the time it's gonna be a sweatshirt and your hair's in a button. But this was like, I had a minute to just do something for myself, and the zero guilt, like, I've earned this money, I'm gonna do something for myself. And it just made me feel like $1 million. So that dress is hanging in my closet, and I've worn it as often as I can because it's just such a sweet memory to realize that like I did that. I earned that money. And now I get to put this thing on that reminds me of that season where it's like, this is real. Like, I am really getting to do this, and it's changed a lot. So the other story that feels like a huge win to us is my husband grew up with a mom who worked really hard, but they went without a lot of things. And the holiday seasons have always been really difficult for him. And his birthday falls in December as well. So 2 years ago, for his birthday, the kids and I went and stocked up our entire local food pantry in his honor. stuffed it full of everything, and even some extra fun things, because we knew that some of the families near here, they weren't going to be able to get candy bars to stick in stockings and things like that. So we all worked together, and we filled it up, and we took him and we showed him what we got to do, and we told him that we did it for him, and that his ability to provide for us all these years and provide well, like we never went without anything.
Yeah.
But to be able to just give back in a way that honored him and his effort towards our family was just such a cool thing. So for me, that's such a huge win, and I know that's kind of selfish, but I could not have done all of this.
That was selfish.
Nothing. We're over here crying. Nothing about that was selfish. Oh my goodness. So what was his reaction to that whenever you told him?
He cried. He cried. And he is not a crier. That's not something he normally does. So, and he's impossible to shop for, because if he needs it, he goes out and gets it. So when we were trying to think of something that we could do for him that was like, I don't know, he might actually use. Like, this was the only thing we could do for him that made sense. I think it was really touching for him to realize that, like, not only was our household covered for that season, we had stocking stuffers, and we had all of the rice and beans we could ever ask for, and a huge turkey, and like we were fully set. And then we were able to go and just fill this entire pantry full with enough for multiple families to be able to have what we were having for the same season. If that's not a huge win, I don't know what is.
That's amazing.
And it's so like amazing to be able to model that for your children. Like, this is what you do with success. And I love that, Lauren.
Yeah, I love, this is what we do with success, right? Because that's just such a beautiful story about how you were able to just give back to your husband in such an incredible way, and show him, how much his hard work has meant to you, and then to go off and be able to bless other families like that around the holidays is pretty darn incredible. And so we have Lisa's asking this. She goes, "This sounds perfect for me. Is it possible to schedule a call to learn more about timing and requirements?" And absolutely. So you're
I would love to talk
Lauren.
to you.
So bring your Kleenexes, and you can tell she's just an absolute delight to talk to. She will be your instant best friend. We just say, just add water, like that. Instant best friends, just add water. That's Lauren. That is how you can describe Lauren. And Stephanie put the link in the comments for you to be able to book that call with Lauren whenever you are ready. And she'll just kind of walk you through what life as a Pretty Focused grad looks like, what our program looks like. And so you'll just have a really good understanding of what to expect from her. So we have a couple of other questions as well. And one of them is from Joanne, and she has a very practical question of what accounting software do you use?
So I started out using QuickBooks Self-Employed. I really loved that I could automatically track my mileage. I could tag things. It was a great way for me to get my feet wet on learning how to take care of a set of books. And that was really great because I was able to just connect it with TurboTax when it was tax season. So that was something that worked really well for me. So QuickBooks Self-Employed. My dad is a nerd and he loves bookkeeping. So a couple of years ago, he was like, I'm going to buy you the big girl version of QuickBooks. And I was like, no, I don't need it. It's fine. I've got this other one. He's like, no, we're going to do this and we're going to do it right. And so he went through, he did my entire books for that year in the big girl software and made all the things and showed me how to do it. But he got to the end of it and he was like, you made how much doing this? I was like, and I told him again, and he was like, you made how much doing this? Like, Dad, that is like, you see all of my numbers, you have all of my account information. I didn't finish college. David and I married pretty young. So I stepped right into family life. pretty quickly. We had Braden at about the 1 year mark after getting married. So there was no time for school and jumping in at that point. And my family have all gone to college. They're engineers, like smart math people. And that was just not the path that I felt was quite right to me. But often over the years, my parents, specifically my dad, would encourage me to consider going back to school. Like, you could just take a few classes, like just enroll, like you could do a little bit at a time, like you really need to get your college degree. And it just never felt quite right. Since he did my book a couple of years ago, that type of conversation has completely ceased. He does not bring up school anymore, which was just such a moment, like, to realize that he hadn't mentioned that in a while. Like, oh my gosh, like he's kind of seen that I've done something, which is in his mind the equivalent of a college degree, and I've built a business around it. That, like, when my husband thought that he was going to lose his job last year, it was like, okay, let's figure out how many recipes that is. And it was not a scary situation. It was kind of like a, where are we going to put all this food when I'm done with it? But it was like, it was not a, the world is ending, what are we going to do? It's time to panic. It was a, okay, we will just shift some things around and I'll
lots of Tupperware.
Yes.
You're like, that's 7 exclusives a week, guy.
Done. Yeah. I mean, I did the math, and it was really not all that scary. But he would go crazy at home.
Wow, that's insane! I love that so much. I mean, what an incredible, like, testimony. Everything from, you know, the dress and the hair and the, what you think is like, that's a big deal. You know, that's a big deal.
Yeah.
And so then, and then being able to do that for your husband, and then having your dad being like,
how much did you make?
How much you made how much? Yeah, you're making the same amount of people as someone with a college degree. So
with no debt. There's no debt.
And no debt. That's right. So Lauren or Farhana wants to know how you got commercial clients and if it was through referrals.
So the first client that I got was a word of mouth client. That one just kind of happened naturally. So that was kind of not a one-off, but that was just a really unique situation. The second one that I got found me through the Hire Grad, and they reached out to me through there, and we negotiated on email, and they sent me the products, and they've hired me back 2 years now.
So is it food blog related? Because this is not something we.
No.
Wait, what's the company for? They found you on Hire a Grad?
Yeah. So it's a calendar, like a
the planners.
The planners. That's the word I was thinking of.
How funny. There must have been a blog somehow.
Somebody.
Right?
That probably is so cool.
We'll be like, oh, and commercial.
Let's put that on the list. Yeah. Wow, that's amazing. I mean, you don't know.
No.
You don't know it.
That whole economy happens around us, right? Which is amazing too.
Wow. So if you guys, while we have Lauren on here, if you guys have any questions you want to ask her specifically, feel free to drop them in the comments. She is here to answer any question that you have, all the hard questions, whatever it is. I mean, we just hit on so many, you know. I love it. When did you join? I didn't. My husband. I love it. That's like my favorite.
Yeah. I was thinking, did someone give it to her? I couldn't remember.
I was like, wait a minute. Did we ever offer this for free? What? No, we did not.
I'll tell you, I would pay for it over and over and over again now. Yeah. I would not even hesitate. Like, if I could talk to myself 4 years ago, I'd give her a big hug, because she was scared. She was really scared and kind of uncertain, and really lacked a lot of confidence in herself. And then I would just push her. I think I'd do what my husband did. I think I would just push her and be like, just take the first step. Just trust the process. It's just one foot in front of the other. because it really has given us so much more than just income. There are aspects of what this has done in my personal life that I can't imagine any other way that I could have gotten here. My confidence level is through the roof, like in a totally humble way, but just that certainty that, you know, I have been able to do this really unique thing. And when it gets stressful and it gets hard, I just go back to that place where I'm like, this is something that I have built and I can make it anything that I need it to be. And if something's not working, then I change it. I'm not tied to any one piece of this, that I can just turn it into whatever I need it to be, whenever I need it to be that. And when it changes back, then I can just go back to the other thing that it was before, or I can make up something totally new. It just felt like the first step. And since then, it has just been the next step and the next step and the next step. And the journey that I've been on, the path behind me, I'm so grateful for it. It was not easy. It's not easy money. It's not quick money. Well, no, I guess it is kind of quick, but it's worth the effort to put into it, just because it can be so many things and not just income.
Right.
Yes.
Right. I love that. We can ask you this because you are the person that talks to the people who are thinking about joining Pretty Focus. So we have a lot of people in the comments who are just waiting for the right time, like they're saving up money. They are, maybe some of you guys who are in the comments. In fact, if this is your first grad interview, will you put that in the comments? Because I want to know, because we've done these quite a bit and we always have new names and new faces. And so I would just love to know if this is your first grad interview, or like just your first maybe live with Pretty Focused. So what is one thing that you would tell someone who is considering joining Pretty Focused?
So,
okay, not just one.
Everyone has a
couple of things. Yeah.
Okay. There's a lot that I want to say. So first of all, like, if you sit where you're sitting right now and you look forward and you know some aspect of where you want to be in the future, whether it's more income, more freedom, you know, walking away from a corporate position, being able to support something that means something to you. If you can't do that with what you're doing right this minute, what are you willing to do to get there? Because you can sit here right now and you can keep thinking about it and keep wishing that you can do that and keep hoping that someday you can do something different. But if you go ahead and you start now, you're going to look up and you're going to be at that place that you've been wishing you can be. And you're going to see so many more things ahead of you that you will be able to do once you get started. There's no sense in staying frozen and not knowing what to do next. There's a lot of us who have done this. This turns out to be a thing. It's real. And I think that that's something that I hear a lot. Like, is this for real? Talking to people like at our pool this summer, getting to know neighbors. And I'm always a little bit apprehensive about like doing the commercial for Pretty Focused because it's like, it sounds so like cliche, but it's like, it's real. It's really real. Like, you don't have to sell lipstick or leggings or babysit your friends' kids, or, you know, this is something that you can do, but like build it for yourself. So several times over the summer, I had conversations where I was like apprehensively starting to talk about it. And all of a sudden there was like this barrage of questions. And I'm like, you should just do it. Like, just try it out, because there's really nothing that's holding you back except yourself.
Yeah. Wow. I know I still get questions of, that's a thing.
Yeah.
Oh, yes. It is very, very, very much a thing.
I mean, I get it. 12 years of blogging still. So, and you're working for bloggers. So if they can't even most people can't understand bloggers make money. So someone working for a blogger, like, I understand why your dad probably thought it was like, oh, that's nice. It's hobby money.
Cute.
Right?
Cute.
Yeah.
Well, I remember, like, I think the reason that I came across Pretty Focus to begin with is because I had followed spaceships and laser beams for recipes. Like it was a cute website. And so I had followed it on social media. I had followed the blog. Like it was just like, oh, this is a cute thing. And so to learn that, it a little bit wrecked my world initially, to realize that maybe these people who had these blogs weren't like superhuman and doing all of the things. But then it was so cool to see like the ones that were successful, the ones that had built a business around a blog, were now in a position to start hiring other people. And what we've seen, what I've gotten to see with Pretty Focus graduates, is that they build their businesses and then they need to hire. They need to hire their own photographers. They need to hire their own writers. So we're building an entire industry underneath the bloggers that we're getting to help just expand their businesses.
Yep.
And so it's this really cool connection relationship between the two. And I think it's just really rich and exciting. I can't wait to see another 12 years. I mean, I can't even imagine what blogging will look like then.
I know. And I want to like defend the bloggers when people, so I would say when blogging started, it was about the blogger, right? You would follow the blogger but blogging now is about the reader. So the blogs that are like, I'm the blogger and follow my story, whether they're travel bloggers or food bloggers, they don't typically do well anymore because people are so answer focused and action focused. So I would say now, like new readers to food blogs don't care. That right? It's not me slaving in the kitchen, producing and photographing 3 recipes a day times 365. Like, they don't.
But that expert writing,
recipe, right?
Like watching you shift from like that, this was my grandmother's recipe. And when I was 3, I remember, like you have shifted from that narrative all about you to like the expert on this recipe, and these are all the details that you're going to need to know so that you can successfully make this in your own kitchen. And then to get to photograph that and share it so that your readers can get in their kitchens and do things with their kids and make the memories about when I was in my grandmother's kitchen and I was 3. Like you've shifted the entire thing, and that just is so cool to me to know that like those memories are being made.
It's the meme, right? Like there's a meme about food bloggers telling you about the pasta in Italy and all right before they get to the recipe, and people just want the recipe. And so it's not that way anymore. No, readers don't want it. Even travel, like across the board, travel bloggers, parenting bloggers, people don't want that on the internet anymore.
Oh my gosh, I was talking to a friend on Halloween, and he was like, I got to ask you something. And I knew as soon as he said that, I knew exactly where he was going. He was like, bloggers, they bug me. Why can't they just, and I was like, well, because they're not doing it right. Or it's like an old blog post that they haven't been able to update.
And also, really, when was the last time he was on a food blog, or did he read that on Twitter?
Oh no, he did, because he loves to like barbecue stuff.
Oh, okay. Oh, they're
not like so he's like looking up those types of recipes and stuff. So I'm like, well, they're probably not doing it right.
Yeah,
they'll catch up.
They'll
eventually catch up.
They'll get there. Yes, but
they gotta come into 2022 with us.
Yes. Yep. Okay, so we have some additional questions here, and then we will wrap up. So be on the lookout for some Black Friday deals. So we're going to be sharing some of that, maybe linking some of it over the weekend. I'll just tell you that we're starting early, so be on the lookout. We are opening for enrollment on Tuesday, so you will know all of the deals ahead of time. So let's see. With exclusives, how does a blogger deal with those writing the post itself? And so so
it depends on the blogger. So if you are a blogger like I am, who has a massive team, the recipe and the photos go to a writer. We have recipe developers that are in-house. So it's all it would be the same as if it was like Martha Stewart magazine.
Yeah.
Look at me put my,
Yeah,
but you know what I
do
mean?
it.
Like there are people, right?
Yeah.
I'm like, yeah, but there are people there. So it just is a function of getting the recipe published.
Yeah.
But if sometimes you're just dealing with a blogger and the blogger has an assistant and themselves and a photographer, or maybe add a writer in, and then but usually someone, either the blogger or someone on their team will write it, because posts have to be written in a particular way. So it is actually also a separate skill set.
There is a value add that photographers can add to selling exclusives, and that is called FAQs. Frequently asked questions. You know, how can you see these in blog posts if you go, how can I store this? Can I freeze this? What else can I serve, you know, this with? What's a good side for this dish, right? If it's like a meatloaf dish. And then, so all those like FAQs, photographers will provide all of those FAQs because they're the ones that made the recipe. So they're like, they have the best idea of, you know, chill time for the pie dough, or, you know, like little tips for the readers to be more successful. So a lot of our photographers who sell exclusives will add those notes and FAQs to the recipe, and that will actually add value to the recipe itself. And you can usually get just a little bit higher dollar amount for those. And then bloggers love it because they're able to take that information and then kind of stick it in a blog post. So, but like, that's why I kind of froze, because I was like, well, how do I answer this? Because you have people like Stephanie who have entire teams of people who are developing exclusives for her, you know, within in-house, I should say. So all of her stuff is done in-house, right? Where she's hired and brought in photographers. So,
and I do buy sometimes from our grads.
yes.
And then I love it if they also do stuff like tell us how the recipe tasted, right? Because if we don't end up testing it ourselves, I have to rely on the person that is making it and trust them, which is why Pretty Focus has become so important, because, you know, if you can, you know, the blogger is saying they trust them because they've gone through our process. So that it does taste good and it works and all those things.
So there you go. There's like a little tip. If you are doing exclusives and you are working on FAQs, if you don't have, does it taste good?
How does it taste, right? It's like a creamy blend of caramel and, you know,
you know, let your, you know, brother try it, or your brother-in-law, or your, you know, your husband, your family, throw in a couple of different opinions. Kids love this. Oh my gosh, they died. So that's just a simple thing that is a huge value add. So this is great. This is a great question that I think that we can probably talk about.
Question.
Like, have a whole live around this in and of itself. I think we had a boot camp about it.
It was a good one.
But so how do you address burnout? Let's talk about you specifically, Lauren. How do you address burnout? Since you're doing so many things, you're a mom, your wife, you're everything. How do you handle this?
Burnout is a real thing. And sometimes you can see it coming, and sometimes it totally surprises you, and you're in too deep, and you've just got to keep pushing forward so you can get to a place where you can reevaluate. One of the best things that I can do to take care of myself is plan well. So if I have my game plan together and I am staying on task, then that means that I don't get into the weeds and get stressed out. So avoid burnout, do that as planning. I'm going to be working, but doing all of the in advance. It's making sure.
Hold on just a minute, Lauren. We're hearing pops. Do you hear that too, Stephanie?
Yes, I was muting to see if it was me.
Oh, okay.
Do you hear it still?
No, it's better now.
Okay.
Okay, go ahead. Burnout.
So in order to keep myself from burning out, I will plan ahead. So I do all of my foreshadowing for the month in advance. So I know exactly which recipes I'm doing for that month. I look at real life and I dovetail it in there so that I know that, like, Wednesdays are insane. Wednesdays are not a day that I need to be to try working. So I just block that out.
Yeah.
Just being really realistic about what real life looks like and how to juggle all of the things. But hero hacking in advance, making all of those small decisions before I'm actually doing the work, has made it a lot easier to get all of my things done without feeling like I'm pulling teeth at the end of it. You've got to be realistic though. Like that really is what it comes down to, is recognizing that you are just one person and that you don't want to take on so much that you can't do any of it well.
Yeah.
I'm like a type B perfectionist where I want it to be perfect, but if I cannot make it perfect, I will paralyze, and it will actually, I will just stress and I will be very anxious about all of it. So I have found that not letting myself stay there very long and just begin to start working on something and just get the ball rolling usually gets my juices flowing, and it can get me going and out of that slump when just feel like all I want to do is absolutely nothing.
Yeah. Yeah. That's good. I'm just thinking through of how sometimes you just feel so overwhelmed, you're just paralyzed, and you, like you said, you just can't make the decisions, but how much that has probably helped you in other areas of your life too, right? Like it just is exercising this muscle, right? So when you talk about like you're gaining your confidence and everything, just how this is just kind of seeps into all areas of your life is amazing. So I love that you're planning, making sure you're planning. I love that you call it foreshadowing. So, you know that your days are busy, so you're blocking it out, really making sure that you're taking the time to rest, I think is really, really important. A lot of us don't want to do that. So we don't know how. So, yeah. So I'm seeing like some comments and some buzz in the comments about Lindsay's FAQs. And so they're talking about some FAQs. Do you see all that, Stephanie? Let's see. So Lindsay was saying she adds a ton of notes and FAQs to her exclusives, so her clients have all of the details.
That's awesome.
So she's adds in section of recipe. That's not diving, but my brain is stuck. Anyway, so she makes, I'm so sorry. She makes a note of like what the recipe tastes like, the textures of the dish, all of that. And so that's really important. So those of you who are already students or you're hoping to join, that's really good information to know ahead of time that you can start doing that already. Recipe document. Okay. I was like, it's not diving. That I know for sure, but I'm not sure what this should be.
Well, in the course, we talk about how, like, to do a recreation, you are telling the story, you're bringing to life this recipe that's on paper. It may or may not have been photographed before, but in theory, a reader should be able to look at our photos and essentially be able to decipher what this is, what it's going to taste like, what the texture is. When you're doing exclusives, it's kind of the reverse. Like, you've got to be able to use your words to paint this picture that would match the photos if someone was to line them up together.
Yeah.
So it's just a lot of storytelling. And I think when it comes to exclusives, you have to be willing to dig deep on those different words to describe things so that you can really tell the whole story.
Yeah. Yes. And, we went from when we talk about telling the whole story of like, the creation of the recipe, not like their story of their life. So that shift in the blogging world that we were talking about earlier, were those little personal anecdotes to this, how the recipe is done, it's called expert advice. So they're writing for expert advice. They want to be the experts on the recipe. So how we describe what we do as photographers is that we're illustrating the expert advice, right? And so a lot of times we provide the tools to be able to help write it as well. So we're not writing the blog post, we're just kind of providing notes for the recipes, but we say, that we're photographing for expert advice. So we're going to show the ingredients shot. We're going to show the process of how it was made, the key process, not all 12 steps of the recipe. And then, making sure we have a wide selection of heroes for that recipe as well. And if you have been around blogs, for a long time, you may have seen that shift now. In fact, if you go to a lot of blogs, you'll see that key ingredient shot and those process shots as well. You'll see that trend is starting to be a lot of bloggers adopting that trend. And so that's what we teach inside of Pretty Focus. So it's really, really specific to food blogging, not just this general food photography course. Though the skills are transferable, our focus is on working for food bloggers. So
one of my most recent clients that reached out to me sounded a little overwhelmed, and like maybe she had some bad experiences hiring outsourcing jobs, aspects of her business. And so we did the questionnaire, we talked through a few things, and at the end I just said, do you want to be involved in the creative side of this, or do you just want me to do my thing? And she was like, I think I just want you to do your thing. And I was like, okay, I am here. I will receive any feedback at any point. If you think of anything that you want to add to that, just let me know. The door is open. And so we were able to start our relationship with her just going, I just can't think about this anymore. I need somebody else to do it. And for me to be able to receive it and send products back to her, the final thing, and her go, oh my gosh, this is amazing. Like, it was like she needed a Pretty Focused grad who knew why we do the ingredient shot, who knew why we set up the process images the way that we do. Why do we need the yum factor in all of these heroes? Like, what really, really matters? And for her to be able to just plug it in with what she was already doing to finish out that blog post seems like such a huge relief for her, and to be able to not have to worry about what I'm doing. Yeah. So that was like the best compliment I could have gotten, was hearing from her that it was like, oh my gosh, this is amazing. I didn't even have to think about any of it. Don't have to worry at all.
That is amazing. How long have you been working with that client?
Oh gosh, probably a year now.
Okay.
Wow. Yeah, she's been around for a little bit. She just showed up. She just reached out, and it was kind of one of those things where you could tell that she had been burned, probably had some experiences that weren't really great, and to be able to just try one more time. And I hope that she keeps trying, because I think that there needs to be a lot more clients like that, and a lot more photographers that can have that type of thing to say. Like, I'm taking care of my clients. Their lives are easier because I do what I do. And I think that's so cool. It's just such a natural relationship.
Yeah, I love that. Thank you so much. Lauren, thank you so much for talking with us. I could just sit here and talk to you all evening. And I always love these grad interviews, and I love everybody showing up in the comments. I know, I think it was Michelle who said that this was, her first time here. And so we are so glad that you're here with us. This one right here. So she did ask this question of how you get recipes. And so recipes are kind of given to you from your clients. So they will give you recipes to recreate, or sometimes you create your own recipes to sell based on, industry needs and demands and what people are looking for. So, but anyway, Lauren, thank you so much for meeting with us. And if you guys, I don't know about you, but I was just so inspired tonight talking to Lauren. We laughed and cried. The best grad interview. So thank you so much for being here, you guys. Thank you so much for showing up on a Friday night to listen and to be here and to ask all of your questions. So we're open for enrollment on Tuesday. We will be sharing some of those Black Friday deals that we've got coming out. So be on the lookout in your email and in the Roadmap Facebook group for those. Otherwise, we'll see you guys later.